Scream 2 has been released on many formats, and today we're taking a look at the big four: VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K. We'll also take a look into the special features on each release before we compare each film scan to see which release looks the best at home. And spoiler alert, it's probably not the one you'd think. Let's get into it. First up, we have the VHS, which is classic. I am obviously a VHS slob hound, whatever you want to call it. Now, obviously, it's a full-screen presentation of the film with no special features, but it does include some trailers before the movie. Then we have the DVD of Scream 2. This isn't a 4-pack, but it is the regular Lionsgate Scream 2 release. This does have a few special features, including outtakes, music videos, deleted scenes, a trailer, and TV spots. Pretty basic stuff there, nothing out of the ordinary. We'll be taking a look at the Blu-ray. Again, this is in the 3-pack here, but it does include an extra disc with 2 extra special features on here that are really awesome, that aren't on, as far as I can tell, anything else. Still Screaming and Scream the Inside Story. The Blu-ray has all the same special features itself as the DVD, but also includes a featurette on Scream. So let's take a look at this side-by-side comparison. At the top left, you will have the VHS, the top right, the DVD, the bottom left, the Blu-ray, the bottom right, the 4K. Immediate thoughts, looking at this. Obviously, the framing of the VHS is different. It's full screen. Just looking at the Blu-ray and 4K, the Blu-ray is sharper. And that's going to be a theme throughout this, you'll notice. I've done some research and I found out that the 4K is supposedly closer to how the film is supposed to look. That's closer to the actual scan. There's artificial sharpening done on the Blu-ray. Although I can't confirm this, that's what I've read. But still, the Blu-ray is sharper. And I was like, am I crazy? Because I do a lot of these sometimes and I'm like, holy crap, the Blu-ray looks better. And I'm not one of those, Blu-ray snobs who hates on 4Ks. I buy 4Ks, I like 4Ks. I want them to look great. I want them to look better, but they don't always. So obviously this is a little sharper here. You can see on, just the sneak preview text. Tonight only, stab. Look at how much clearer that is. It's actually wild. Although I've never paid this much attention to this before, but I really do like that stab hand that's coming down there. That's awesome. When you look at this stuff frame by frame, sometimes you see stuff you've never seen before. It's pretty cool. Wow, what a frame to switch to, man. My God. Sorry I did you dirty like that, guy, but as you'll notice, the 4K is a little darker as well. That tends to happen with a lot of these when you compare them. And I think it's because a lot of people were like, they were doing a lot of stuff to the Blu-rays to make them look as good as possible. As opposed to the 4Ks, they're trying to make them look as true as possible, usually. Again, it's not like the 4K looks bad, but even just look up at the DVD. This is a fun scene, but it's good for colors. Like, you can see how saturated the VHS is, and sometimes the VHS tapes look washed out as hell. I'm surprised this one looks as colorful as it does. Now, it's definitely a little dark, but and the DVD does not at all look bad. Like, you could survive on just watching the DVDs of this movie, and I did for a long time till I upgraded to the 4Ks. And as a physical media nerd, man, you could easily survive on DVDs if the scan of the film is good enough. And a good indicator of that is that the film came out while DVDs were being made, or are still being made. Like, if you buy a new movie on DVD, it's honestly going to look pretty damn good. If you bought movies that were made during the time of DVDs being made, I think it's also going to look pretty decent. Yeah, again, I'm surprised to say that the VHS has the most color saturation. That's very fascinating to me. The 4K having the least amount, it seems. If I was to recommend this to anybody, I think I'd say Blu-ray and, maybe even DVD if you don't feel like it. And this is the good indicator of sharpness, stuff like this. But false sharpness or not, Blu-ray looks better. And my God, I would love to go to the new Scream and for them to be handing out these $30 packages to everyone. Again, just that watercolor. Look at the VHS versus everything else. Color of the blood. Again, Blu-ray is unmatched. And I don't go into videos like this wanting to trash the 4Ks, because you do have to consider that these are all compressed. And, this is a video that you're watching not in 4K. But these were all captured with the same means, using the same technology and parts and everything. It's actually wild to me. And when you put them up like this, it's actually pretty crazy how good the VHS image really is, you know? Like, this is why VHS worked for so long. Like, everybody trashes on it and thinks it looks terrible, but like, look at that. That's a pretty decent scan. And it's all we had for years. What a beautiful image this is, though. And there's things about the 4K that I like. How about how like dark the screen is? But the rest of it should be lighter, so it's kind of like, eh. Another thing to consider is, are these differences, like these minute differences, different enough to deter you from buying one version or the other? Are they that big of a deal? They might not be, but if you're being selective, you're like really wanting to see which version looks the best. Like, I feel there's just no arguing that it's the Blu-ray at this point, I feel like. And there are many films that I don't feel that way about, so I don't know. We have the introduction of Dewey. I like looking at some of these outdoor and sunlit shots just to compare some of the lighting and how that stuff is affecting, because you can see the green over here in the 4K could arguably look a little more natural, but I think even the DVD looks better color-wise. And there are people out there, physical media people out there, who just don't buy 4Ks, and I was one of them. You know, I've been buying them for a year now, and this is one of the first ones I bought, and I'm just now really doing this comparison, but it's like, okay, so this is the first shot on the 4K that I feel like isn't extremely dark. Like, these sunlit shots look pretty good. And when I'm looking at this one in particular, I think the 4K actually does look a little bit better than the Blu-ray. Sure, it's sharper, but like, this is one image where I'm looking back and forth, and I'm looking at the Blu-ray and I'm thinking the sharpness does feel a little artificial in particular here. But then again, maybe I've just been looking at this for a long time and I don't know. Like, sometimes when I do a comparison like this and the Blu-ray looks this much better than the 4K, I go back in to make sure the files I placed in the right spots, and I'm like, am I crazy? Did I put the 4K in the bottom left? Nope. That's the Blu-ray. Nothing's labeled wrong. It's all there. Again, on sharpness even, like, the Blu-ray obviously wins, but the DVD is very comparable to the 4K here. Like, that's a really good shot, but see, the subtle color differences here aren't enough to make a big difference. The lighting is working well enough in the 4K, although when the lightning flashes, you can see a significant color difference there. The tint on that 4K is a little bit warmer than these other ones. And a good way to tell if that usually is whites and lights. So you can see these look a little whiter. They look a little yellow white, and these ones are looking a little more brown red white. So again, look at his little things on his wrists here. They look pretty white in the DVD and the Blu-ray. A little darker, more off-white in the 4K. And the mask, you know, it's another one. Personally, I'm thinking the DVD is the best color on this frame. And that Blu-ray, dude, that Blu-ray just looks so good. And when you compare these, when they're all compressed a little bit, right, you're not going to see all the really, really small imperfections of, you know, a DVD to a Blu-ray. Although I think those are usually where the biggest upgrades lie. It really depends on the film scan that they've used for the release. Look at that, he has 4 different colored shirts on. Looks like navy blue in the VHS. Looks like kind of a gray here. It looks like a little more charcoal gray here on the bottom on the Blu-ray. And it looks almost green on the 4K. It's actually pretty crazy, but I want to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. I can't be the only one thinking the Blu-ray is the king here, right? If you like this video, be sure to check out this one and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.